Hey everyone, welcome back to another awesome project in React Native. So in this project, we'll be building a full stack pizza delivery application in React Native using the Expo framework and the Postgres as database. So if you find it interesting, please hit the like button and do subscribe for more such content. So let's get started. So first of all, let's look into the demo part of the application. Okay. So here towards my right is the initial home screen that's being shown. So we basically have 4 tabs: the home tab, the cart tab, the orders tab, as well as the profile tab. So within the menu tab, whatever data you've added in the backend, that is going to be shown. So all of these categories, that is all of these images, description, name, price, is directly coming from the backend. That's whatever the admin is added. Alright, so over here we have a horizontal scroll of categories where we can choose different options, and it is automatically gonna scroll through that particular options. So we can try to press on this, and then we can automatically navigate to the next screen, where this is the pizza info screen, where the size for the pizza, the crust you want is gonna be shown, and some description as well as the name is gonna be shown. So yeah, we can try to add the pizza to the cart from this particular screen. Even if you press on the add button, it should take you to this specific screen. You can choose the customizations whatever you want. Let's say you want to choose medium, and automatically the price is going to get increased. And for the crust, I'm going to say fresh pan pizza, so it's going to choose that one, and I'm going to press on add to cart, and boom, just like that the item was added to cart, and even in the backend it's going to be added. Okay, so once you press on view cart, you should be taken to the next screen. Alright, so let's go ahead and then press on that view card, and just like that we are coming into the cart screen. We have totally one item, and we can try to modify the quantity over here as well within the cart screen. So this cart screen shows how many items are present in the user's current cart, and it also shows the bill summary including your total, your delivery fee, taxes and charges, and the grand total as well. You can also try to add more items. So once you press on proceed to checkout, it's going to show like this. Okay, so it's going to actually manage the user's current location, and we're going to show that, and we can try to add your alright. So over here you can actually try to add a new address as well. You can save the address too. So let's say I'm going to add a address line. So I'm going to say house of flat number 57, some random name, and a random pin code. Okay, save address. Okay, and just like this, as you can see, this is our delivery address. You can also choose your current location as well with the help of that button under the map, and you can add, let's say, some extra notes over here, that is for the order notes. And I'm going to press on place order. This is the total amount over here. Okay, as you can see, let's press on place order, and boom, just like that, order placed. Estimated delivery is 30 to 40 minutes. For now we have implemented like this, and all of the orders are going to be placed in the admin panel, that is to the user. So there's going to be a one-on-one kind of implementation, that is only one hotel and the users can place orders, right? So the user places the orders, and the order is going to get placed, and automatically that is going to be shown in the admin panel. So currently I do not have the admin panel, but I'll be attaching the screenshots. You can take a look at it. Okay, so you can also try to view the cart over here as well. Let's say you add some items. Even over here you can see the design. Let's come back, and then if I come to cart, as you can see from here also you can proceed to the checkout. So currently orders, you should be having one order. That's the order placed by this current user, and once you press on the drop down, it's going to show more details regarding the order, that is for your delivery address as well. And profile is pretty simple. We have some details, your saved addresses. Okay, yeah, currently it's not showing. I think there's a bug. We can fix that up. And apart from that, we have some other basic designs, and you can try to log out. And this is the user profile with which the user is logged in. Log out. There you go. We have two simple screens for your login as well as sign up. Okay, and we do have the admin panel design as well, where all of the orders, the user details, and other stuff are going to be shown. So yes, that's it about this video. So we're going to build this up in, let's say, 2 videos. The first one is going to be mostly related to the backend part. So we're going to have your user registration, your login, your secure durability authentication. We're also going to have a full pizza catalog with your categories, variants, your size, crust, pricing, and other details as well. And we're also going to have multiple saved addresses for a single user profile, and we're also going to And we're also going to implement your Winston logging on every endpoint so that the user is easily able to identify errors if any. And we're also going to implement the API versioning for the future proofing. So yes, that's it about the demo video. Let's get started with building the project right away. So now the first step is to create a fresh new Expo managed project. So let's go do that. So just currently opened up my VS Code and I'm going to go into my build folder where all of my projects are present. So here I'm going to say cd build, and here I'm going to execute npx create expo app at latest. Let's press on enter. So this should ask us the project name. So here we're going to give, let's say, pizza del. You can give any kind of app name you want to give, and then I'm going to press on enter. So this should take in a couple of minutes to initialize the project dependencies, and once it initializes we're going to go into the project structure and then look into the file tree that Expo gives us. So let's wait for a couple of minutes. It's currently installing all of the required dependencies for our project. Alright, so this part is done. So as you can see, it says your project is ready. So to run your project, navigate to the directory and run one of the following npm commands. So let's go do that. So I'm going to first of all press on file and then open folder. I'm going to go into my build and then pizza delivery. That's the one which you have just created. Open it up. So these are all of the files and folders that Expo gives us when we initialize a new project. Okay, and this is the main app router. So first of all, we're going to use TypeScript for building up the project, and we're also going to use NativeWind for the entire design of the project, that is the front end part. So first step is, let's first of all try to integrate NativeWind, and let's get into the backend part, and then let's try to write all of the endpoints and make sure everything is working fine. Once everything is working fine, that is once we are done with the testing part, we can come back and design the front end. So first of all, let's head back to Chrome. Let's search for nativewind.dev, go into this particular link, and I'm going to press on get started. So since we are using Expo, come back to the Expo tab, copy that down, and over here I'm going to say terminal, new terminal. Let's just paste that over here. Alright, so while that's installing, let's move on to the second step, that is set up Tailwind CSS. So copy that down. We need to create a tailwind.config.js file. So let's go ahead and then do that. So new file over here, tailwind.config.js. Okay, save the file. So here we need to make the change with respect to our app router. As you can see over here, they have used app.tsx and components, whereas we do not have the app.tsx within our folder. So we're gonna use this particular file structure, that is everything within the app. Any JS, JSX, TS, TSX file, the styles should be applied. Same thing goes with the components as well. So yeah, the second step is done. Let's go ahead and then create a CSS file and then add the Tailwind directives. That's the step number 3. So let's create a new file, global.css. Okay, let's go ahead and then add it over here. Once that's done, the next step is to create your babel.config.js to add the babel preset. So new file, babel.config.js. Go ahead and then add the code to include the NativeWind package. Apart from that, the next one is going to be your metro.config.js. Copy that as well. That's the last step. So here I'm going to say metro.config.js. Okay, that's pretty much it. The final step is to import the global file within your main app.js or the main layout.tsx. So for that, I'm going to go into my main app_layout.tsx, and right over here I'm just going to remove this. That's not required for now. Here I'm going to say directly import global.css. Save the file. Let's start off the application. I'm going to say clear npx expo start -- clear to clear the cache. So there you go. It says NativeWind made the following changes to your project to support TypeScript, and it has created this NativeWind env.d.ts file, and hopefully we can integrate NativeWind into the application as of now. So the way this is going to work is we have been given a QR code to scan. So if at all you want to see the output of the application on your own phone, you can try to scan the QR code, and then automatically it should open up on the Expo app. And if at all, in my case, I'm actually using my iOS simulator, we need to press on I. And if at all you're using Android, press on A. That is for Android emulator. I'm going to press on I. So as you can see, I'm going to clear off this for now. Okay. So it says opening your app on iPhone 16 Pro Max, and boom, just like that, it has loaded the application onto the iPhone. And basically whatever is there within the home tab, that design is being shown. As you can see within this index, whatever code is there, the same thing is being outputted onto the simulator. Okay, let's first of all test if at all NativeWind is correctly initialized. So here I'm just gonna have a random text, import that from React Native. I'm just gonna say hey over here. Okay, and let's directly try to give the class name. I'm gonna say text right of, let's say 400 or 300, and boom, just like that we're able to use NativeWind into our application. This is good. So we are pretty much done with step one. As I said, now the next step is to set up and initialize the backend part. That's going to be the first step, and we're going to write all of the endpoints, that is the basic ones, and even test with the help of your curl commands. Once everything is working fine, we can pretty much integrate it directly to the front end part with the design. So yeah, let's get started with that. So we're going to use Prisma for the schema, and we're going to have different middlewares, your routes, and obviously Node.js for the backend part, right? So let's get started with this. So I'm going to create a backend folder onto the root level. So I'm going to say new folder, backend over here. So here I'm going to say cd backend npm init -y. So it creates your package.json. Okay. So first of all, let's go and then add all of the required dependencies that we're going to use over here. So I'm going to say yarn add. We need cors.env express, okay, JSON web token, then your PG, Prisma, and Winston for the logging part. And we also need the Prisma adapter -pg package as well as the Prisma client. So I'm going to say add Prisma /client. Let's press on enter. So all of these dependencies are going to get installed within your backend package.json. Let's wait for that to complete. Alright, so this step is complete. So there you go. As you can see, all of the dependencies have been added. So now the next step is to install all of the dev dependencies. That is important. So here I'm just going to paste in the code. It's going to be yarn add -d, that is for dev dependencies, and all of these packages you can directly try to add it. Okay, let's press on enter. Alright, so even this step is complete. Next, let's try to initialize the tsconfig file. So for that, I'm going to say npx tsc -init. So you should be seeing that tsconfig.json file being created, and we're going to add the configuration over here according to our project. So you can try to add in these compiler options that we're going to use. Okay, next for Prisma, so I'm going to say npx prisma init. It should automatically create the folder for us. Okay, so there you go. It has created the generator client as well as the data source DB. By default, it's going to be Postgres itself. All right, so yeah, even we're going to use that itself. All right, so let's get started with your schema part. That's going to be the first step. Okay, so first of all, let's complete writing this. We're going to have a bunch of models, that is the user, your address model, your role, that is either your customer or admin, your category, your pizza variant, your cart item, your order, as well as your order item. So let's get started with this one. Okay, first one is going to be model user. So I'm going to say model user over here. Okay, it's going to have a unique ID that is going to be of type string, and over here I'm going to say add ID, add default of your UUID. Okay, not this, it's going to be CUID. So control C. Okay, next we're going to have a name for the user that is going to be of type string, email for the user, this also is going to be of type string, and this is going to be unique. Okay, apart from that, we're going to have your password. So password is going to be string, and then we're going to have your phone. This is going to be an optional field basically. So I'm going to say string and then optional. We're going to have the role being given to the user. So I'm going to say a role. It's going to be of type role. We're going to define that in just a bit. and over here I'm going to say add default, they're going to be the customer. Okay, that's going to be the role. And we're going to have created at as well, that is going to be of type date time. Here I'm going to say add default and then nav. Similarly updated at as well, so updated at dates time at default of nav. So next, apart from that, I think extra bracket got added. Next we're going to have is the addresses for a particular user. So I'm going to say addresses, this is going to be of type address, that's going to be in the form of array. We can have n number of addresses. The orders for the user, I'm going to say order. Next, cart items, that's going to be of cart item. So that's pretty much it for the user model. So now next, let's try to define the enum role, that is what roles we're going to have. Basically 2 roles. So here I'm going to say enum role customer admin. Okay, here I'm going to say model address, that's going to be the next one. Here we're going to have ID, label, line 1, line 2, landmark, city, and so on. So I'm just going to add in the details for that. Okay, so you can take a look at it. This is the design for your model schema, I mean for your address model schema. Format once and then save. Okay, so it's going to have ID, label, line 1, line 2, it's going to have a landmark, city at default Bangalore, and pin code, latitude, longitude, and each default it's going to be of boolean, it's false. And user ID, it's going to have a relation to the user as well, and orders, it's going to be of type order. Next you're going to have for the category, I'm going to say model category ID, that is going to be of type string. Again, add default ID, add cu ID. Next is going to be for the name, again string. Description for the category, string, this is an optional field. Image, this is also optional. Next is your sort order, it's going to be of type int, and at default the value is going to be 0. Okay, so that's pretty much it about the model category. Next is going to be for the model pizza. So here I'm going to say model pizza, this is going to have again a unique ID. Copy that down. Next we're going to have the name for that specific pizza, it's going to be of type string. Similarly for the description as well, string. Is veg, it's going to be of type boolean, so I'm going to say boolean. And over here it's going to be at default, it's going to be true. Next is best seller. Okay, this is also going to be of type boolean, and again at default is going to be false for this. Next is available, this is also going to be of type boolean. Okay, and here I'm going to say add default of true. I think an extra bracket got added, remove that. Next is going to be for the base image. Okay, this is going to be of type string basically. Next, your created ad, we can copy that down from the previous one. So yeah, just try to add in this, it's going to be the same value. Apart from that, next we're going to have is the category ID. This is going to be of type string. Next, category itself, because we're going to have a relation between the categories. So I'm going to say category add, use the relation operator, pass on the fields, it's going to be dependent upon the category ID, and references is going to be with respect to the ID. Okay, wrong spelling for this, can take a look at it. Okay, next we're going to have the variants for the pizza. So I'm going to say variants, this is going to be of type pizza variant. Okay, next I'm going to say your cart items. This is going to be of type cart item. Next is your order items of type order item. This part is done. Next, let's move on to the pizza variant, how exactly it's going to look like. So I'm going to say model your pizza variant. So this also is going to have a unique ID. Let's try to add in that. Okay, apart from that, it's going to have a size, that is what kind of size it is, of type size, crust of type crust, wrong spelling. Next we're going to have is for your price, that is going to be of type float. Apart from that, we're going to have the pizza ID, that is going to be of type string. Next, the relation. So the pizza itself is going to have relation with respect to your pizza. And here I'm going to say add relation, pass in the fields. It's going to be with respect to the pizza ID, references ID, and on delete, I'm going to say cascade. Alright, that's it. Next, it's going to have your cart items as well. That is going to be of type cart items or cart item. Next, your order items. That's going to be of type order item. Okay, so you can take a look at the pizza variant. The next one is going to be for the cart item. I'm just going to add the code for that. So this is going to be the model for the cart item. It's going to have a unique ID. It's going to have the quantity. By default, it's going to be 1. And it's going to have a user ID of type string, that is which user has added it to the cart. And then user relation again, your pizza ID as well as pizza relation, variant ID, that is which particular variant they have chosen, again a string, and variant relation as well, and the created at value, that's going to be date, time, and then default is going to be enough. That's pretty much it about your cart item. Now let's move on to the order and then the order item. So here I'm going to say model order. Okay, it's going to have a unique ID. Here I'm going to say string add ID. It's going to be similar, default CUID. You're going to have the status for the order, initially order status. So I'm going to say order status, at default it's going to be placed. Alright, next you're going to have the total amount for a specific order, that is going to be of type float. Okay, notes. Here I'm going to say string. This is an optional field. Okay, next is going to be created at. Here I'm going to say date, time, and it's going to be equals to default and then enough. Next, we're also going to have the updated at value as well. So updated at date, time, at updated at. All right. Next is going to have the user ID, that is the person who has placed the order, of type string. Again, a user relation. So I'm going to say user with respect to the user, add it, pass on the relation, fields. It's going to be simple, user ID, references with respect to the ID. Okay. Next, your address ID as well, that is going to be of type string, and the address, that is going to be of type address. This also is going to have a relation. So relation, fields, address ID, references to the ID. And finally, the items for that specific order, I'm going to say items is going to be your order items or order item, that is in the form of an array. Okay, next is going to be that itself, model order item. So here I'm going to say model order item. Let's pass on the ID, that is going to be of type string. Again, similar, add ID default CUID, pass on that. Apart from that, it's going to have a quantity. So quantity of int, it's going to have a price of float, Next, your order ID, that is going to be of string over here. Next, it's going to have the order itself of type order, of course, along with your relation. So yeah, add relation, pass on the fields. It's going to be with respect to the order ID, and your references, it's going to be ID. On delete, we're going to cascade it. Okay, so similarly, we're going to have it for the pizza ID as well as the variant ID. I'm going to add it for that. So there you go. Okay, that's pretty much it. Format once, save. Okay, so once that's done, we're going to have 3 enums, that is for size, crust, and then the order status. So I'm going to say enum size. Let's add it. We're going to have either a regular size, a medium size, or a large size. All right, next is going to be your enum crust. Okay, here it's going to be either thin, classic, your cheese burst, or your wheat, okay, or a fresh underscore pan. Next, we're going to have it for the order status. We're going to have a bunch of statuses. So I'm going to say enum order status. Here we're going to have placed, that's the first one, confirmed, preparing, out for delivery, or delivered, as well as cancelled. Okay, so save the file. Order item, wrong spelling. This is the one. Next, for this one, cart item, it's going to be singular. Save. One more issue over here. Okay, pizza variant is not defined. Let me just check that out. Because pizza, this is the pizza variant. Okay, so there you go, it got fixed. Just try to use this, and then let's try to save the file. Okay, you can remove this part, not required for now. So now within your .env file, we need to create a bunch of variables over here. Alright, so just pasted in the code for this, that is for the .env file. You can try to create your own database using Postgres. So make sure you've already installed Postgres onto your system. So let me go and then create a new database. I'm not going to use the previous one. So let's say new terminal. I'm just going to say PSQL and then Postgres. So there you go, you are into the Postgres terminal. That shows it correctly. Now the next step is to create a new database. I'm going to say create database with this keyword and then pass on the database name. I'm going to say pizza rush, let's say underscore v2, because this is already created in our case. Okay, there you go, it got created. Now let's check if at all it exists. I'm going to say L /L. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm not able to see that because pizza rush is there, pizza underscore delivery is there, but v2 is not to be found. Okay, wrong command, I guess. So let's exit this and let's execute that again with the semicolon. Okay, syntax error. Let's come back over here. Let's fix this up. Okay, there you go. It says create database pizza rush underscore v2 and it has created it. So now let's verify it with this command. So there you go, I can see my database over here which says pizza rush underscore v2. That's the one which I just created. Okay, so yes, that's working properly fine. So this step is done. Now let's actually try to grant all of the privileges to this one. Okay, so I've just granted all of the privileges on database pizza rush underscore v2 to Sujan Anand. So just try to execute this command onto your system as well. So yeah, this part is done. I'm just going to modify my URL based on this specific project that we just created. Okay, so just try to say database URL is going to be this one. So we are done with this part. We can just do Control-C and then exit out of this. So now first of all, let's make the changes within the package.json for your scripts. Okay, we currently have one script that is for testing. We need for dev, build, and all of the other ones. So here I'm going to say dev. This is going to be your nodemon -exec. ts node src/index.ts. Next is for the build, that's going to be tsc. Next you're going to have is for the seed, because you're going to seed some data to the backend. Here you're going to say ts node prisma/seed.ts. Apart from that, you're going to have seed admin as well. This is going to be your ts node prisma/seed admin.ts. Okay, first of all, let's try to generate the client. So make sure you're into the backend folder, and here you can say npx prisma generate, enter, and boom, just like that, it has generated the client for us. As you can see, it says generated prisma client to this particular folder in 35 ms. So now the next step is let's create a seed.ts file so that we can seed some data to the backend. So here I'm going to say prisma seed.ts. I'm going to add the code for this. Okay, so I think I made a mistake over here within your schema.prisma. So this should be prisma client.js. I've just written the wrong provider. So let's go ahead and then change that. So within the schema.prisma file on the top, where we have the provider, that is going to be js. Again, let's rerun the command npx prisma generate. Okay, so yep, this part is done. And I think we are getting one issue with respect to the is best seller. So let's look into that. Anywhere we have done the mistake within the Prisma. Okay, let me just verify my other code. I think it's with respect to the spelling error. Yeah, definitely. So there should be small s. Safe. Let's verify if at all there is any other value for this. Yeah, only one is there. So again, let's do npx prisma generate. Okay, there you go. The error is gone. That's the reason it was erroring out. So this part is done. I'm going to say npx prisma db seed. Okay, so let's first of all check out your c.ts after all you have configured the .env. Yeah, that's configured already. It says no seed command configured to seed database. Add a seed property to the migration sections in your Prisma config file. Okay, that's going to be prisma.config.ts file. So let's do one thing. Let's actually add the seed command directly to your prisma.config.ts within this object. Now let's try to run it. And boom, just like that, it says injected env from .env. Seeding database, seeding is complete, and the seed command has been executed. So now all of these values should be entered into our backend. Okay, so let me explain what exactly is happening over here, that is within the seed file, and what data we are actually inputting into this. So we basically have the setup, that is the top part where we are trying to initialize the adapter as well as your .env.configure. Okay, so this loads the .env, that is from the database underscore URL. Okay, and it uses the Postgres adapter, that is with the help of this one, and it initializes the Prisma with the help of new Prisma client and then pass on the adapter to that. The next one we have is your main function, that is everything is going to run inside this. So the main thing we're going to do over here is you're going to clear old data. That's very important. So what this does is it basically deletes all existing data and prevents the duplicates when seeding is done again. Okay, so next part is to the creating of categories. So it creates categories like pizza mania, your veg classics, your non-veg specials, your premium pizzas. With the help of this command prisma.category.create, pass on the data. These are the images, description, name, and then sort order. I'll be sending all of these data in the description in the form of a drive link. You can take a look at it. Okay, that is it for the categories part. Next is to create the pizzas. Okay, so over here each pizza belongs to a specific category. That's the reason it is going to have a category ID, and it has details like veg, is bestseller, and the image as well. Yeah, so along with this itself, we're going to create the variants, that is size, regular, classic, and the price as well. And we do have different categories of pizzas like non-veg specials, veg specials, premium. Okay, these are premium pizzas and so on. And finally, we are just logging the seeding complete, which you've already seen it over here, as you can see in the terminal. And we are calling the main function once with a catch block. And finally, we're going to say prisma.disconnect once it is completed. Okay, so that's what this file does. Okay, so now the next step is to see whatever has been inputted. You can try to execute the command npx prisma studio, which should automatically open up into this link that is in localhost, and boom, just like that, we do have all of the required details. These are the Prisma migration details. Address currently empty. We have all of the models being set up over here. Your cart item category, as you can see, category has been inputted. We have description. We have 4 categories: pizza mania, veg classics, non-veg specials, and premium pizzas. All of them have been correctly being shown. Next is order empty, order item empty. As you can see, pizza items, everything is there with description, image links, and all of the other details as well. Okay, and even the relations have been properly entered over here, that is cart item, order item, as well as the pizza variant. Next, we have the pizza variant itself. There you go, we have different kinds of pizza variant, and all of these variants are also in relation with all of the pizzas. So that's the reason we have same kind of pizza variants for different pizzas. As you can see, cheese burst is coming a couple of times, even over here as well, onto the top as well, and user is currently empty. Okay, so with the help of Prisma Studio, we can try to check out all of the data that is being inputted, and if at all any user registers as well, it is going to come up over here. Okay, so yes, that's pretty much it. So we are done with the first step of the backend. Seeding is done, and we have initialized all of the required models. So now, apart from that, the next step is to create all of the REST API endpoint. So for now, we're going to use the base URL that's going to be localhost 3000 itself, and all the endpoints are going to be ending with API v1, that is version 1. So now the next step is, let's get started with your auth routes and then define your register, login, and let's try to test that out as well simultaneously so that we know the APIs are working with the help of your curl command. It's pretty simple. Okay, that's going to be the next step. Alright, so now the next step is to create all of the other folders that are not yet created. So we need the lib, the middleware, the routes. So let's go ahead and then create that within the backend folder. So here I'm going to say backend, sorry, not backend, backend src. So press on src, new folder, that is going to be lib. Okay, so apart from lib, we're going to have the other one, middleware. Apart from that, we're going to have your routes. Okay, and a main index.ts, that is the main entry point for the backend part of the application. So that's good. So first of all, let's complete the lib. We have two things, the logger.ts as well as the prisma.ts. Logger is obviously used for logging all of the required details for all of the endpoints. This would be obviously useful to get any errors or to see the errors properly if at all anything is coming. Okay, so yeah, let's look into that. The first step is create that logger.ts file, and then let's write the code for that. So I'm going to say logger.ts, and let's start writing the code. So as explained earlier, we're going to use something called as Winston for logging. So you might have used this in the previous project. Again, we're going to use the similar thing. So I'm going to say import Winston from Winston. Okay, so here I'm going to say const logger is going to be equals to your Winston dot, we do have the create logger method, use that. Okay, here we're going to have level, that is going to be info. So we basically have n different levels over here within Winston. We have info level, so this is for successful requests. Okay, and next we have the warn level, so these are specifically for your client errors. Next is your error level. Obviously, if at all there are any errors, it's going to show that, basically your server errors. Next is the transports. Okay, that's going to be a console development plus rotating file logs and production. So that's it. In our case, we're going to use level info. Apart from that, it's going to take in the format. So I'm going to say format over here. Here it's going to be Winston dot format dot combine Okay, here it's going to be Winston dot format dot your timestamp, Winston dot format dot colorize, okay, and Winston dot format dot printf. Pass on the timestamp, your level, your message, as well as all the metadata. Okay, here we're going to say const extras is going to be equals to your object dot keys of your meta dot length. Okay, if that's true, then it's going to be JSON dot stringify with respect to that, and pass on null and then 2, else it's going to be empty itself. Okay, so yeah, once that's done over here, I'm going to return the value along with the timestamp. I'm going to say return, make use of backticks over there. So here I'm going to say timestamp, your level as well. Here it's going to be the message, so $message and then $extra. Okay, let's go ahead and then add the transports over here. So I'm going to say transports. Here I'm going to say new Winston dot transports dot your console. Okay, export default logger. That's it. So yes, we are done with this thing. So that's the basic understanding of what this file is going to do. All right, now let's move on to the next one. That's going to be prisma.ts, so that we are going to define it at a global level, and wherever we require this particular variable, we're going to use it in the backend part. So within the same folder, I'm going to say prisma.ts. Okay, so here I'm going to say, first of all, onto the top, import your Prisma client from your Prisma adapter, not Prisma client, my bad, Prisma PG. I hope this is installed at Prisma adapter PG. All right, next your .env, so import .env from .env. Next is your Prisma client from generated Prisma, so import Prisma client from generated Prisma, not browser, this is one. And let's try to initialize the .env.config, so not like this, .env.config, use that method, so it gets initialized. Let's try to have in the adapter over here, it's going to be equals to new Prisma PG. So this is syntax for Prisma 7 because we're using Prisma 7. If at all, you can check it out within the package JSON. It requires these two packages to work, otherwise it's going to error out. So that's the reason we're using this Prisma adapter package. Okay, here we're going to say connection string is going to be your process .env dot your database URL. It's going to obviously come from that env file, and here I'm going to say const Prisma is going to be equals to new Prisma client. Okay, and over here we're going to say of your adapter, we can say export default Prisma. That's pretty much it. Okay, so yeah, this part is done. So now let's quickly finish off writing the middleware for the auth.ts, that is for the checking of your token if at all it's provided or not. So let's go to that within your middlewares folders. I hope that's created. Yeah, here I'm going to say auth.ts. okay, so here first of all, let's try to define the interface. That is how exactly your auth request is going to look like. Export interface auth request, p is going to be equals to record, and then I'm going to say string, comma your string, extends request. Okay, and over here it's gonna have in your user ID that is gonna be of type string. Okay, so just like this, import request from your Express. Let's do it manually. Import your next function request, comma your response as well. This part is done. Okay, so here I'm gonna say export const authenticate is gonna be equals to your request, that is gonna be auth request response or result of type response. Next we do have the next function type, add that. So here it's pretty simple how exactly it's going to work. Take in the token and use the verify method, and if it is obviously valid, then pass on the request ID and then go on to the next one. Okay, and if at all it's not valid, mark it as false. It's obviously going to give the 404 error, 401 error. Okay, so here I'm going to say const token is going to be equals to request.headers dot authorization dot split with the help of the empty space, and I need the second one because that's what is going to fetch you the token. So here check the condition stating that if not of token, return result dot status of 401 dot json with a error that is going to be no token provided. All right, and here we're going to have your try catch block. So I'm going to say try and then catch. Here we're going to say return result dot status of 401 dot json with a error being invalid token. Okay, within your try block, pretty simple. Let's try to decode it. I'm going to say const decode is going to be equals to your jwt dot verify. Let's import jwt from JSON web token. So import jwt from JSON web token. Okay, so here I'm going to say jwt dot, we do have a verify method, use that, pass in the token as well as the secret with which it was set initially. So I'm going to say process dot env dot your jwt underscore secret. Okay, here I'm going to say as user ID, that is going to be of type string. Here once that's done, I'm directly going to say request.user ID is going to be equals to your decoded dot user ID, and we're going to say move on to the next part. This is already done. Okay, save the file. So yeah, that's the complete code for your authentication middleware. So this part is complete. Now let's go into the routes part and then start writing the routes for your auth. That's the first step. Login and register, pretty simple. So I'm going to say routes over here, new file. It's going to be auth.ts file. Okay, so auth is going to contain a bunch of routes, that is your /register, /login, /me, that is going to get the user's profile itself. So yes, that's pretty much it about this file. We're going to have 3 routes basically. So on the top, I'm just going to import the required things that we're going to use within this specific folder. Okay, let's initialize the router as well. That's required. Const router is going to be equals to your router from Express. So here, first of all, for register, it's going to be simple. Router dot, it's going to be post method. Okay, /register. It's going to be a async method with your request. That's going to be of type request, and response of type response. Okay, so here first of all let's try to have in a try catch block. So try catch of error, use the logger which we have built. So I'm going to say logger dot error, that's going to be the level. It's going to be register error, and your error is going to be string of error. Okay, next I'm going to say result dot status of 500 dot json with a error. Here I'm going to say registration failed. Okay, that's pretty much it about your catch block. Let's go on to the try block. So first of all, we're gonna have the body being given over here. So const name comma your email comma your password comma phone is gonna be equals to requested body. Here we can try to use the logger info. So I'm gonna say logger dot info register attempt. Okay, here pass on the email. Check the condition stating that if not of email or if not of name or if not of password, we cannot try to execute this. So here I'm just going to say logger.1 registration failed, missing fields for that specific email, and then we're going to say return result.status of 400 with this particular error message. Okay, and next I'm first of all going to check if at all any existing users already exist with that specific mail. If they exist, we cannot implement it. So I'm going to say const existing is going to be equals to await Prisma dot user. We have the find unique method, use that. So where this is going to be with respect to the email. Okay, if existing is true, then over here I'm going to say logger.1 register failed, email already exists. Okay, so email goes over there as well, and here I'm going to say return result dot status of 400 dot json with a error being email already registered. Okay, so that's it. Next step is to hash the password. We're going to use the bcrypt, obviously it's pretty famous. So const hashed is going to be equals to await bcrypt dot hash of your password and the value, that's 10. Next let's try to create the user. Const user is going to be equals to await your prisma dot user dot use the create method. Pretty simple. Pass on the data to be created. That's going to be your name, email, password, and hashed. Sorry, password is going to be hashed, and your phone. Okay, I'm going to say select. Your ID is going to be true, name is going to be true, email as well is going to be true, phone true. Okay, so yes, that's pretty much it about this one. So what this endpoint does is it basically creates an account. The body is going to be name, email, password, and phone is optional, and it returns the token plus the user. Okay, so yeah, the last part is missing. Let's do that. So here I'm going to say const token is going to be equals to your jwt.sign method. Okay, here I'm going to say user ID, that is going to be user.id, and over here I'm going to say your process dot env dot your JWT secret. Okay, that's pretty much it. And next I'm gonna say expires in, that is gonna be, let's say, 30 days over here. And once that's done, I'm gonna use the logger.info saying register success with that specific user ID and result retrieved of 201, and I'm gonna send in JSON the user as well as the token. So that's pretty much it about your register endpoint. Let's move on to the next one, login endpoint. Okay, so here I'm gonna say router.post, it's gonna be /login. Okay, it's gonna have async method with your request, that's gonna be of type request, result, that's gonna be of type response. Here again try catch block, so try catch of error. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy this down and then make the changes for this. Here instead of register error, I'm gonna say login error, and I'm gonna say result status of 500 with this message which is gonna say login failed. Okay, within the try block, pretty simple. Again, get the body, two things to log in, email and password. It's gonna be coming from request.body. Okay, here I'm gonna say logger.info. I'm gonna say login attempt with that specific email. Okay, check the further conditions. If not of email or if not of password, I'm gonna say logger.1 login failed with your missing fields. Pass on the email. Okay, here I'm gonna say return result dot status of 400 dot JSON with a error being email and password required. Okay, next here I'm gonna say const user is gonna be equals to await Prisma dot user dot make use of the find unique method where it should match the email. Okay, if not of user over here, I'm gonna make use of the logger message just like this. You can take a look at it. So once that's done, let's try to check if at all the password entered by the user is valid or not. So I'm gonna say const valid is gonna be equals to await, again use pcrypt dot, okay, it's gonna be your compare method with your password and the user.password. Okay, so if not of valid, here we're gonna say logger.1 wrong password. Okay, with this specific email, and return result status of 401 invalid credentials. Okay, and if all both are correct, just create the token. So const token is going to be equals to pretty much the similar thing itself, no change, just copy this down. So it's going to be jwt.sign method, user ID is going to be equals to user.id, and your JWT secret as well as expires in value. Okay, once that's done, I'm going to say your logger dot info login success. Here let's try to have in the user ID, that's going to be user dot id, and here I'm going to say process. Okay, my bad, I'm writing the previous code. So yeah, a login success, and then pass on the user ID along with the email. Okay, that's it, and we can directly try to say login success. Okay, next we can directly try to say result.json of the information to the front end part. That is going to be just like this, format once. Okay, this part is done. Now let's check out the final endpoint, that is going to be router.get of me, that is going to get the information of the current user's profile. Let's write the code for that. Router.get, it's going to be /me, have an async method with your request of type request and response of type response. Okay, here again pretty similar, try catch block. So catch of error, here I'm gonna say logger.error, just try to use this and then make the changes. So it's going to be logger.error of your me error. Okay, and here I'm going to say invalid token. Format once. So within your try block, let's try to say const token is going to be equals to request.headers dot your authorization dot split with the help of the space and then get in the token. If not of token over here, I'm going to say logger dot one, I'm going to say me failed and then no token. Okay, so here we're directly going to say return result dot status of 401 dot json with a error message being no token is provided. Alright, next let's try to say const decoded is going to be equals to your jwt dot verify method of the token comma your process dot env dot jwt secret as your user id, that is going to be of type string. Okay, here I'm going to say const user is going to be equals to await, I'm going to say your prisma dot user dot, we do have the find unique method, use that, where they should match the id is going to be your decoded dot user id, and just pass on the select variable with all of these fields as true because that is going to get returned. Okay, so once that's done, I'm going to check if at all not of user, then here I'm going to say logger dot one me failed, user is not found, and here I'm going to say user id, that's going to be your decoded dot user id. Okay, here I'm going to say return result dot status of 404 dot json with a error being user not found, and here finally if at all we do have the user, I'm going to say logger.info me success. Okay, pass on the user id, that is going to be your user dot id and result dot json of your user. Okay, that's pretty much it, we have done everything. Let's just try to export the router over here. Export default router, this is complete. So now let's first of all start writing the code for the index.ts file, that is the main backend file. This is the one. Onto the top, let's import some things. I'm going to say import course from course. Okay, next import .env from .env. Alright, next we do have express, import express, comma your next function, comma your request, comma your response from express. Okay, Yeah, that's it. Let's try to say .env.config. That's the first step. Format once that's done, let's try to create the instance of the app. I'm going to say const app is going to be equals to express. Let's choose a port. That's going to be your process .env dot your port or by default 3000. Here I'm going to say app.use of course. Alright, and I'm going to say app.use your express.json. So once that's done, let's try to use the request logger over here. So first of all, let's try to import this logger file. So basically this is an express middleware function used for logging your incoming API request. Okay, so what does app.use means? So this runs for every request coming to your server. So that's the reason we're going to use app.use over here. Okay, so let's say examples like /get, /login, /cart, and all of these three things. So here request is going to be your request object, and your underscore result is going to be your response. That is your unused response object, which means I'm intentionally not using this variable. That's the reason we have added the underscore response over here. So here is the main logging part where we're going to say logger.info. It basically logs things like your get /pizzas /auth /login, things like that. And it's going to have an extra data object that is your query as well as the body. That is what we've entered it over here. Okay, so it basically adds the metadata to the logs. So that's pretty much it about this code, what exactly it does. Next, let's try to write the APIs for API v1. Here I'm going to say const v1 is going to be equals to express dot your router wrong spelling for this. Okay, so here I'm going to say express dot router. Next here I'm going to say v1.use. It's going to be /auth, and the routes for this, that's going to be your auth routes. So let's go ahead and then import this auth routes. I'm going to say import your auth routes from your routes and then auth. That's it. Save the file. Next, let's write the middleware for the 404 handler. So here I'm going to say app.again use method. I'm going to say underscore request. That's going to be of type request. Okay, comma response of type response. I'm going to say result.status of 404.json with error being route not found. Next, let's try to add in the global error handler middleware. Okay, so I'll just add the code for that. You can take a look at it. So let's understand what this does. So as I said, this is a express error handling middleware. So the main job is it catches the server errors. So that's the reason we have used the error method over here, and it logs them onto the console and it sends a proper response instead of crashing. Okay, that's what it does, and that is what we have written over here. So this part is done. Finally, let's make use of the listen method. So here I'm going to say your app.listen. It's going to be of the port, taking a function over here, and I'm going to say logger.info. Make use of backticks, and I'm going to say server running on port or on HTTP localhost and then port over here. Okay, save the file. So first of all, let's try to run the backend folder. That's the next step. So to run, it's pretty simple. It's going to be npm run dev. Make sure you're into the backend over here. Clear a new file, cd backend npm run dev. Let's see what exactly happens, and boom, just like that, it's working fine. As you can see, it's executing this specific code because that's what is there within the script. Okay, and these are the required things, configurations, and as you can see, injected env from .env, and it says info server running on http localhost 3000. This stuff is done. So now let's try to actually create the users, and then first of all let's test the endpoint now itself. Even though we do not have the design as of now, we can test it using the curl commands. That's the next step. So let's come back to auth. We're going to test out these three endpoints: register, your login, as well as your me. Okay, so before testing, I think I've forgotten to add one part over here, that is the mounting is not done for the usage of the auth routes. Okay, so let's add that, and also let's add the health check saying that our backend is working correctly fine and it is live. Okay, so we're going to say app to use API v1, and then these are the v1 routes. Okay, and here I'm going to say app get a /health request, and then take in the response, and we're directly going to say pizza rush backend is live. Save the file. Now let's check out the health over here. I'm just going to say curl http localhost 3000 /health, and boom, just like that, it says status pizza rush backend is live, which means our backend is correctly working and it is accessible. So now let's test the next endpoint, that is going to be register. So I'm just going to paste in the code for that. So I'm just going to say curl -x post, and this is going to be our URL. Just try to copy down the same URL and then add in the content type, that's going to be application JSON, and -d, it's going to contain the body. I'm just going to say name is Sujan, email is going to be sujan@pizzarush.com, password is going to be password123, enter, and boom, just like that, we do have the user with the ID and the email being returned. Phone is null, token is also being returned. That is what is important for us. Now similarly, let's test out the next one, that's going to be your login endpoint. Okay, so similarly, I'm just going to enter the same code over here, just change the path. Instead of register is going to be login, and make sure to change the password and the email is going to be same, sorry, password is going to be, and password is going to be the one with which it was created, enter, and boom, just like that, even this worked because the email and password matched. Okay, and it is again returning the user ID and then email, and obviously the role is going to be customer, that's correct, and the token as well, which is also correct. Next, let's test out the final one, that's going to be me. So as you can see, this requires a token, that is your authorization bearer, we need to pass that. So let's test that out accordingly. Okay, so make sure to copy down this specific token, that's going to be your token, and then we can directly try to hit the endpoint. Okay, so I'm going to say curl your endpoint, again your -h authorization bearer, and then pass on the token over here, enter, and boom, just like that, we do have our particular user info. We have the unique ID for the user, name for the user, email as well, phone is null, your created at value. Okay, so these are the required things, and we are correctly getting the user profile. Okay, so this part is working properly fine. So now we can move on to the next route, that is going to be for the catalog, or to get the categories and the pizza details. So I'm going to say routes, new file, catalog.ts. Let's try to add in the required things over here onto the top. And first one is to get all of the categories with the pizzas. So for that, over here, I'm going to say router dot, it's going to be get / your categories. Okay, here it's going to have a async method. I'm going to say request is going to be request, and your result is going to be, response is going to be response. Let's try your try catch block. So try catch, I'm going to say result dot status of 500 dot JSON with a error being failed to fetch your catalog. Within your try block, I'm going to say const categories is going to be equals to await your Prisma.category dot, we do have the find many, use that, and I'm going to use the order by value, and sort order is going to be ascending over here. Okay, so this would get all of the categories in ascending order, and I'm going to include your pizzas where is available is going to be true, which means fetch only the available pizzas, and include the variants as well, that's going to be true. Okay, and once that's done, here directly I'm going to say result.json of all of your categories. Next, let's write the endpoint for fetching all of the available pizzas. I'm going to say router.get. It's going to be /pizzas. Okay, async method with your request, that is going to be of type request, response of your type response. Here let's try to have in try catch block. So try catch. Okay, I'm going to say result.status of 500.json error, that is going to be failed to fetch pizzas. Within the try block, pretty simple, get in the category ID. So I'm going to say const category ID comma is veg is going to be coming from the request.query. Okay, here I'm going to say const pizzas equals to await your Prisma dot, again access the pizza dot find many. Here I'm going to say where your is available is going to be true. I'm going to add these two values, that is your category ID if it's present, then category ID is going to be category ID as string, else an empty object. The same thing goes for is veg. Okay, next I'm going to include over here, that is variance is going to be true. Category, I'm going to say select, name is going to be true. So that's pretty much it, and here directly we can try to say result.json of your pizzas. Next is to get the single pizza detail. Let's write the endpoint for that. Router.get, it's gonna be /pizza /ID. Okay, it's gonna be an async method with your request of type request and result of type response. I think your request is also going to have a ID as well. Let's try to add that. Yeah, that is just like this, and just try to add in the try catch block as well. Okay, so within the try block, I'm going to say const ID is going to be coming from your request.params, and here I'm going to say const pizza equals to await your Prisma dot pizza dot, we do have the find unique, use that, and over here where your ID, here I'm going to make use of include. I'm going to say variant is going to be true. Apart from that, your category is also going to be true. Once that's done, here I'm going to check if not of pizza, then here I'm going to say return result.status of 404.json with a error being pizza is not found. Okay, here I'm going to say result.json of pizza, and bottommost part I'm directly going to say Expo default router and save the file. Okay, so yeah, this part is done. So now let's actually go back to the index.ts, and then let's try to add your catalog routes. So here I'm going to say v1.use, it's going to be /catalog Okay, and your catalog routes. Let's try to add it over here. I'm going to say import catalog routes from your routes / catalog. Wrong spelling. Okay, save. Yeah, so there you go, no more issues. That's good. So yes, let's actually go ahead and then test all of these endpoints as well, just to make sure that everything is working fine. So it becomes easier while building the front end. We can directly try to call it and everything should work as expected, because we would have already tested it as of now. So the first command is going to be this one, that is curl http localhost 3000 API v1 catalog and then categories, and boom, just like that we do have all of the categories coming, which means this endpoint is working totally fine. Next, let's go ahead and then test this endpoint, that is for pizzas. Enter, and there you go, we are getting all of the details, which is working fine as well. Next one is going to be this one, so we need to enter any of the pizza ID. Let's say this one. We can test it out on your side as well. So this is the endpoint and let's give it a try. So pizza ID is going to be this. Enter. Okay, we are getting some error over here, but I think it should work. I think I've entered the wrong ID. So just make sure to test out this one and we are good to go. You should be able to get the details for this. So yeah, we are done with the catalog part as well. So the next one we're going to focus on is the addresses part, that is to get all of the addresses, add addresses, and also set the default address. So let's go ahead and then implement this. So I'm going to say new file within the routes. It's going to be your addresses.ts. So addresses.ts. On the top, let's import the required things. I'm going to say import your response as well as a request. Okay. Apart from that, we also do need access to the logger. We're going to import that. Save the file. So here, first of all, onto the top, let me import all of my imports for this specific screen. That is going to be all of these, that is response, router, logger, Prisma, and then authenticate as well as the auth request. And here I'm going to initialize my router. I'm going to say const router is going to be equals to router. Here I'm going to say router dot use of your authenticate. Here I'm going to say router dot get. It's going to be / okay, just the / here I'm going to say async. It's going to have your request of type request and response of type response. Okay, here let's try to have in the try catch block. So try catch of error. Here I'm going to say logger dot your error. It's going to be get addresses error. Error is going to be a string of error. Okay, here we're going to say result.status of 500.json with an error message that is going to be failed to fetch address. Okay, so here within your try block, I'm going to say const addresses is going to be equals to await access the Prisma. We do have the find many, use that. Okay, so here I'm going to say where this should match the user ID. So I'm going to say user ID, that's going to be coming from the request.user ID, that's from the middleware part. And I'm going to say order by is default. That is going to be in descending. Okay, so once that's done, I'm going to say logger.info. Here I'm going to say address is fetched. Here we're going to have user ID as well as the, that's going to be equals to request.user ID. Okay, so just like this you can take a look at it. So this is pretty simple. Just try to match the user ID, get all of the addresses of that specific user ID. That's it. Next is going to be for the adding of address, right? Let's try to add that. Here I'm going to say router.post, it's going to be / and async method with your request of type request and response of type response. Okay, this should be auth request, my bad. Alright, so here we need access to the body. So here we're gonna have the label, the line 1, line 2, your landmark, your pin code, your latitude, longitude, as well as is default. So let me get all of those things. Before that, let's try to access the try catch block. So here catch of error, here I'm going to say logger dot error, I'm going to say add address error. Okay, and here we're going to say error, that is going to be string of error. Okay, here I'm going to say result dot status of 500 dot json with error being failed to add address. That's it. Within the try block over here, I'm going to get the body first of all. So yeah, this is your body part. Let's try to access it. Format once, and here check the condition stating that if not of label or not of line 1 or not of your pin code or not of latitude or not of longitude. Okay, then in this case we cannot execute it. Return result dot status of 400 dot json. Here we are going to say error, that is going to be label line 1, then pin code, longitude, then we're going to say latitude required. That's it. So next you're going to check if at all settings are as default, then unset the others first. So I'm going to check if is default is true, then over here I'm going to say await your Prisma dot your address dot use the update many method where they should match the user ID. That's going to be request dot user ID. Okay, and here I'm going to pass on the data. This is going to be your is default, it's going to be false. Next step is to create the address. It's pretty simple, just use a variable. So const address is going to be equals to your await Prisma dot access the address, use the create method, pass on the data to be created. That's it. Okay, I'm just going to add in the data over here just like this. It's going to have the user ID who has created it, label line 1, line 2, landmark, pin code, latitude, longitude, as well as is default. Okay, once that's done, I'm going to say your logger dot use the info. I'm going to say address is added. Here I'm going to say user ID is going to be request dot user ID, and over here we're going to say address ID is going to be address dot ID. Okay, so after that is done, here I'm going to say result dot status of 201 dot json with respect to the address. Okay, this is good. Next we're gonna have the endpoint for setting the default address. For that we're gonna use the patch method. I'm gonna say router dot patch, it is gonna be / your address ID / default. Okay, this too is gonna have a async method, request of type auth request, comma, okay, this is gonna be of type string. Here I'm gonna say address ID of type string. Okay, here I'm gonna say result or response. That's it. Again, try catch block. So catch of your error. So I'm just gonna add the logger message over here. We're gonna say set default address error and then show that particular error. Now within the try block, try to get the address ID. So const your address ID is gonna be coming from your request dot params. Okay. Here I'm gonna say const existing equals to await prisma dot address dot, we do have the find first method, use that, where this should match the ID, that is going to be your address ID, and your user ID should be equals to request dot user ID. Okay, so if not of existing is found, then return a error saying that return result dot status of 404 dot json with a error being address is not found. Okay, that's it. Next, here I'm going to say await prisma dot address dot update many. Here I'm going to say where that should be your user ID, request dot user ID, and your data should be is default false. Okay, simple. This part is done. Next, let's try to update the address. I'm going to say const address is going to be equals to await prisma dot access the address, use the update method. All right, here I'm going to say where this ID should be matching the address ID and data is default is going to be true. Okay, so once that's done, just try to use the logger. So I'm going to say logger dot your info. Here I'm going to say default address set. Here I'm going to say user ID comma request dot user ID comma your address ID. So you can just take a look at it, and I've also said result.json of the address. Let's try to save the file. Okay, so let's first of all understand each of the endpoints. Pretty simple. First one is just /, it returns all the saved addresses for the user. Second one is to add address for a particular user, that is save new address. It's going to contain the body, and for that specific user ID it's going to get stored in the backend. Third one is pretty simple. This is for patching. So set an address is default, it unsets the previous default automatically. That's what it's going to do over here. Okay, the next and final one is going to be for delete a saved address. So let's write that endpoint. It's going to be obviously the delete method. I'm going to say router dot use the delete method. It's going to be address ID. Okay, here I'm going to say async request of type auth request, response of response. Okay, I think this is going to be the same step itself. Okay, here let's again have the try catch block, catch of error. So I'm just going to add it over here. The logger message, you can try to take a look at it. Here again, for deleting we need access to a specific address ID from the list of addresses. So address ID is going to be equals to requested params. Okay, and here const existing equals to await prisma dot address dot use the find first method. Here your where should match the ID, that is going to be address ID. User ID should be equals to request dot user ID. Okay, that's it. And again, check the condition. If not of existing, address not found. Similar condition added over here. Okay, next here I'm going to say await Prisma dot use the delete method. Okay, sorry, Prisma dot address dot delete, where they should match the ID. That should be address ID. Format once. So yeah, once that's done, pretty simple. Just use the logger message. I'm going to say logger dot info saying address is deleted. Okay, here I'm going to say user ID, that is going to be request dot user ID as well as your address ID. Here I'm going to say result dot json with a message being address is deleted. Save the file. Okay, so over here we can directly try to say export default router. Okay, so format once and then let's try to save the file. Okay, you can try to test this out with a specific token. It should pretty much work properly fine. Okay, so this part is done. Let's try to include this within the main server.ts file or the index.ts file. So it's going to happen over here. So I'm going to say import your address routes from your routes / addresses. Okay, so here let's come back. I'm going to say v1.use. It's going to be / addresses and use all of the address routes. Save the file. As you can see, no issue. So this is working properly fine. Now let's move on to the next one. We have just two more remaining, that is the cart routes as well as the order routes. So let's go ahead and then quickly write it for the order routes. That is how to create a order, get the order info and all those other details. So routes order.ts, I'm going to say order.ts. so on to the top, import the required things. I'm going to say response comma your request. Yeah, so here I'm going to say const router is going to be equals to your router from Express. Okay, so here I'm going to say router.use of your authenticate, which means for every route over here that is below whatever we write, it is going to use that token bearer. It's very important because we are trying to create an order. So only authenticate users should be able to create orders. Okay, so the first one is going to be for placing an order. So here I'm going to say router.post, directly just / async method, request of type auth request, and then response of type response. We're going to have try catch block over here. So try and then catch of error. I'm going to say logger dot error place order failed. Pass on the error, that is going to be your string of error. Okay, here I'm going to say result.status of 500.json with a error being failed to place order. Okay, that's it. Now here within your try block, let's try to access the address ID. So I'm going to say const address ID comma your nodes is going to be equals to request.body. If not of address ID, I guess nodes is optional for now. Okay, so if not of address ID, return result.status of 400.json with a error being address ID is required. Okay, next step is to verify address belongs to that a specific user. So for that I'm going to say const address is going to be equals to await Prisma access the address model directly dot find first, here where it should match your ID basically, that is going to be address ID, and your user ID should be equal as well, that is going to be your request dot user ID. Okay, so here if not of address found, then I'm going to say return result dot status of 104 dot JSON with a error being address not found. Okay, next is to get all of the cart items. So I'm going to say const cart items is going to be equals to await your Prisma dot your cart item dot find many. Use that method where this should match your user ID, that is going to be request dot user ID, and include the variant should be true. Okay, so once you've gotten the cart item, check the condition if at all your cart items dot length is equals to 0. Then in this case I'm going to say return result dot status of 400 dot JSON with a error being cart is empty. Okay, here next let's try to calculate the total amount for that specific cart item. So I'm going to say const total amount is going to be equals to your cart items dot use reduce method having the sum as well as your current value item. Here I'm going to say over here sum plus your item go into the variant and access the price multiplied by that particular quantity. That's going to be just like this. So format once, and next let's try to create an order plus items in a transaction. So I'm going to say const order is going to be equals to await, use the Prisma dot go into the, or we can say Prisma dot dollar transaction. It's going to be a async method having that value. Here first of all I'm going to say const new order is going to be equals to await tx dot order dot create, pass on the data to be created over here. Data is going to be all of these format ones. Then let's also try to include the items over here. It should include the pizza. Here I'm going to say select, so your name is going to be true. Okay, base image is going to be true as well, is wedge is going to be true, and over here I'm going to say variant is going to be true. Here onto the other level I'm going to say address is going to be true as well. Okay, so after doing that we need to clear the cart after the order, so let's go do that. So here I'm going to say await tx dot your cart item dot delete many, here where your user ID should be your request dot user ID, that should be cleared out. Okay, here I'm going to say return new order. Okay, so this is your complete endpoint for your creating an order. Let's move on to the next one, that is going to be to get all of the users current orders. So I'm going to say router, that's going to be get method, just the / here use the async, request of type auth request, response of type response, and over here let's try to have the try catch block. So try catch of error, here I'm going to say logger dot error get orders error, Here I'm going to say error, that is going to be string of error. Okay, here I'm going to say result.json of your orders. My bad, sorry. This should be result.status of 500.json with a error which is going to say failed to fetch orders. Alright, within the try block, I'm going to say const orders is going to be equals to await your Prisma dot order dot use the find many, where your user ID should be equals to request dot user ID, and it should include all of your items, which should include your pizza as well. So pretty much same code, that is your pizza select, okay, name true, base image true, is wedge true, and then variant also is going to be true. So let's add it over here, format once. Okay, so that's it. And over here onto the other level, address is going to be true, and we also need to do order by, so created at in the descending order. So that's it. So over here I'm going to say logger dot info, I'm going to say orders fetched, your user ID, this is going to be equals to your request dot user ID, and the count as well, that is going to be your orders dot length, and send it to the front end part, result.json of your orders. That's it. This part is done. Now the final step is to get the info for a single order. So here I'm going to say router dot get, this is going to be your order ID, async method with request of type auth request, response of type response. I think this auth request is going to take in the order ID as well, so let's try to have in that. So here I'm going to say order ID, that is going to be of type string, try catch block. Okay, so try catch of error. So here I'm going to say your logger dot error, I'm going to say get order error, here we're going to say error, and I'm going to say string of error. Here I'm going to say furthermore result.status of 500.json with a error being failed to fetch order. Okay, and over here for the try block, we need access to the order ID to get the info, similar to how we have written it for the address. So const order ID is going to be equals to your request.params. Okay, here I'm going to say const order is going to be equals to await prisma dot order dot use the find first method, here where it should match your order ID, that is going to come from the params, and the user ID, that is going to be request dot user ID. Okay, again include all of the items, it's going to be the exact same code, that is this one. Okay, so just try to add that over here, format once. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And over here I'm going to say if not of order, then return your result.status of 404.json with a error being order is not found. Okay, furthermore here I'm going to say logger.info order is fetched, here we're going to have your user ID, that is going to be request.user ID, comma your order ID, then result.json of your order. Okay, that's it. This part is done. Here I'm going to say directly export default router. Save. Okay, we can try to include this within the main index.ts file. So here I'm going to say import order routes from your routes folder /order. Save the file. Let's use this routes v1.use. It's gonna be /order. Here your order routes. Wrong spelling. It's not yet imported. Import your order routes from your routes and then order. Save the file. Okay, we do have an issue. Let's look into that. I think it's with respect to this one. So I think this is with respect to the schema. I think I've made some mistake. Let's look into that. That is for the order part. So I'm gonna head back to my schema.prisma and then check out where exactly is the issue. So let's come back to the schema.prisma. Okay, there you go. Over here for order item, we have written capital P. So that is for price. It should be a small p. So that's the change. So make it small p. And then again, we need to rerun the backend. So clear, go into cd backend. First of all, let's migrate it, saying that fix price field because this is required. Okay, that is done, and it's also saved over here within this fix price field. Next, let's say npx prisma generate. So we do have the generated one. As you can see, generated Prisma client, and the issue should be gone. There you go. That was the issue. So fix that up, and now there should be no issues in the backend. Okay, let's write the final endpoint. That's going to be the end of part 1. And with this, we have completed all of the backend endpoints. We can start integrating it into the front end part. That's going to be for the card.ts file. Okay, so this is going to be routes cart.ts. So on the top, I'm just going to import all of the required things. That is a router, and I'm also going to say router.user authenticate, which means all routes require the authentication over here. That is with the bearer token. So the first one is to get the cart. It's going to be router.get method / it's going to be async. Request is going to be of type auth request. Response of type response. Having your try catch block. So catch is going to be of error, and here I'm going to say logger.error. That is going to be get cart error. Here I'm going to say error is going to be string of error. Okay, here we're going to say result.status of 500.json with the error being failed to fetch cart. Okay, so here within your try block, I'm going to say const cart items is going to be equals to await your prisma dot your cart item dot use the find many method, where it should match your user ID. That's going to be request.user ID, and it should include all of the other details. That is going to be, let's go back to your orders and then get the details for that. It's going to be pretty much the same itself. So here I'm going to say include pizza, and then the variant is going to be true, and we're also going to do order by. That is going to be created at in the descending order. Let's try to create the total. Total is going to be equals to cart items dot reduce, use the accumulator current value. here I'm going to say sum plus your item dot variant dot price multiplied by your item dot quantity. Okay, so just like this, let's try to format once. And I've also used the logger and the result dot json response dot json of your cart items as well as the total. Next one is to add item to cart. I'm going to say router dot post, it's going to be / add. Here we're going to have the async method with the request of your auth request, response of response. Okay, let's try to have in your try catch block. So try catch of your error. Here I'm going to say logger dot error. We're going to say add to cart error. Here we're going to say error is going to be string of error. Result dot status of 500 dot json with error message that is going to be failed to add to cart. Okay, within the try block, first of all, to add the cart we need access to the pizza id, variant id and quantity is 1. So const pizza id comma your variant id comma quantity equals to 1 is going to be coming from request.body if not of pizza id or not of variant id. Then here I'm going to say return result dot status of 400 dot json with a error being pizza id and variant id is required. Okay, that's it. Next is for check pizza exists. Okay, so I'm going to say const pizza is going to be equals to await your Prisma dot access the pizza model dot find unique with respect to the pizza id, where your id should match the pizza id. If not, then send the error. I'm going to say return result dot status of 104 dot json with the error being pizza is not found. Next is check if at all the variant exists. Similarly, I'm going to add the condition for that. That's going to be just like this, format once. So yeah, after this condition, I'm going to check if at all the same pizza and variant is already in cart, then increment the quantity. Okay, so here I'm going to say const existing is going to be equals to await your Prisma dot access the cart item dot find first, here where your user id should be matching the request dot user id and your pizza id should be equals to, your pizza id as well as the variant id. Here I'm going to say let cart item if existing is present, then over here I'm going to say cart item is going to be equals to await Prisma dot cart item dot update, where your id should be your existing dot id, your data should be quantity should be your existing quantity whatever is present dot 1 plus quantity, and again it should include all of the details. That's going to be just like this, and once that's done I'm going to say logger dot info of the cart item quantity updated. Okay, over here else I'm going to say your cart item is going to be equals to await your Prisma dot your cart item dot your create method. If it is not present we need to create it, if it is already present increase the quantity. Okay, so here I'm going to say data your user ID, that should be request dot user ID, comma your pizza ID as well as the variant ID, also the quantity, and it should include your pizza. Select ID is going to be true, name as well true. Then we're going to have the base image true, is veg true as well. Here I'm going to have variant, that is going to be true. So that's it. Here I'm going to say logger dot info, cart item is added. Here we're going to say user ID, that is going to be your request dot user ID, your pizza ID, and then the variant ID. That's it. Once that's done, we can say result.status of 201 and send the cart item to the front end part. That's going to happen over here. Okay, so here we're going to say response or result dot JSON of your 201 dot JSON of your cart item. This should be status. Save the file. Okay, so the next one is for removing an item from the cart. Okay, that is to update the quantity. Let's go ahead and then add that. So it's going to be router dot your patch method. It's going to be /cart item ID. Okay, async method again, request of type auth request. This is going to be of cart item ID, of string. Furthermore, your response of type response. Okay, again I'm going to have in my try catch block over here. So try catch of errors. Let's write down the logger over here. So logger dot error, update cart error. Here I'm going to say error, that is going to be your string of error. Okay, here I'm going to say result dot status of 500 dot JSON with an error which is going to say failed to update the cart. Within the try block, I'm going to say const cart item ID is going to be equals to request.params. Const quantity is going to be equals to request.body. Check the condition. If not of quantity or your quantity is less than 1, then here I'm going to say return result.status of 400 dot JSON with a error being quantity must be at least 1. Okay, here I'm going to say const existing is going to be equals to await Prisma dot your cart item dot find first, where your ID should be matching the cart item ID. Your user ID should be equals to your request dot user ID. Okay, so here furthermore, if not of existing, send a error. So I'm going to say return result dot status of 104 dot JSON with a error being cart item not found. Next, let's try to have in the cart item over here and then try to update it with the ID that should match the cart item ID. Data is going to be a quantity and it should include all of these details. Once that's done, we can say cart item is updated. So user ID, that is going to be your request.user ID, and your cart item ID, comma your quantity. Okay, here I'm going to say result.json of your cart item. That's pretty much it. The next one is going to be for the removing of item from the cart. So I'm going to say router.delete. It's going to be / cart item ID. Okay, use your async method with the request. That's going to be your auth request, response of response. Okay, so this should be basically the cart item ID of type string. All right, here again, yeah, try catch block. So try catch of error. So I'm just going to add the logger messages. You can try to take a look at it. So yeah, apart from that, over here we need access to the cart item ID. So I'm going to say const cart item ID is going to be equals to your request.params. Check the existing cart is present or not. So const existing equals to await Prisma dot your cart item dot find first. Okay, where your ID should match the cart item ID. User ID should be matching the request dot user ID. Okay, this part is done. Next, check if not of existing, then say cart item is not found. Next, if it is present, delete it. Await Prisma dot cart item dot delete, where ID is going to be cart item ID. Okay, you can try to take a look at it. Next, I'm just going to say your logger dot info. Here we're going to say cart item is removed. Here I'm going to say user ID, that's going to be request.user ID, and your cart item ID. Here I'm going to say result.json of a message that is going to be item removed from cart. Okay, that's it. This part is done. We're going to have the final endpoint over here. It's going to be for clearing the cart, right? So let's go ahead and then write that. Again, similarly, router.delete. It's going to be / async method, request of type auth request, result of type response. Having your try catch block, catch of error, use the logger messages, logger.error. Okay, cart delete error. Error is going to be of type string. Next, I'm going to say result.status of 500.json with a error being failed to clear cart. Within the try block, I'm going to say await Prisma dot cart item dot delete many, where your user ID should be matching the request dot user ID. That's it. Once that's done, I'm just gonna add in the logger messages format, and let's export it over here. I'm gonna say export default router and save. This part is done. Let's finally import it within the main index.ts file. Onto the top, I'm going to say import your cart routes from your routes / cart. Use these routes over here. We wanted to use, it's going to be / cart and your cart routes. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. So your cart routes are pretty simple. Okay, so we are gonna have about 3 to 4 routes. So the first one is for your get. As you can see, get of cart. So this returns the current user's cart with pizza and variant details populated. Next is going to be for the post, adding of cart. So this creates a cart with all of these details that we have mentioned over here. The third one is going to be update the quantity. Okay, if quantity is 0, it deletes the item, else it updates the quantity. Next is going to be remove one specific item from cart, that is going to be this one. This is the one. Okay, so yeah, this is basically going to remove a specific item from your cart. And the last one is going to be for clearing entire cart, that is, this is going to be called basically after the order is placed. So yeah, we have written all of the endpoints for the entire application except the admin routes. We can write that later. So this part is done. So now in the part 2 of the video, we're going to start designing all of the UI screens, that is the home screen, login screen, cart screen, auto placed, and all of that, as you've seen in the demo part of the video. So that's it about this video. We have completed the complete backend part. So let's see you in part 2 of the video. Thank you for watching and do follow for more.